Completely random review here, but I wanted to talk about the absolute classic, John Carpenter's 1981 horror science fiction masterpiece, The Thing. Okay, a little bit of backstory first, a little bit of autobiography. I first saw this movie on VHS when I was a kid. VHS is a format that they used to watch movies on, using a device called a VCR, just so you know. This was back in the days when the horror aisle of your video store was like this wall of possibilities. You'd visit there and find all these cool and creepy covers and take your chance on a movie. That's where I discovered things like Freddy, Jason, Chucky, all that stuff. But I think my video store had always had this kind of deal where you get like 5 movies, 5 days, $5, something like that. This was one of them. I love the movie, especially, it had that one part in that movie that nobody ever forgets. The blood test scene. Such a tense scene, and with such a payoff that makes you jump, and it's great. But anyway, when I got a DVD player, this is when I was a little bit older, there are certain movies that I did want to get. I wanted to get the Alien movies. Those are the first DVDs I ever got. Nightmare on Elm Street movies, of course, and definitely on the list was The Thing. And I bought this when it was a fairly new DVD. We're talking maybe 1999, 2000, something like that. This DVD, at the time, when I bought it, this was $40.99. I still can't believe I paid that. You know how much allowance that was? But so expensive now I think about it. Like even a new Blu-ray today, you're paying maybe $35 tops. But I guess, this was a special edition at the time, had all the cool special features, The Thing, The Terror Takes Shape, the documentary, which is an excellent documentary, and really goes into detail on how they made the movie. I guess for the time, maybe, no, for the time it still was expensive, and I'm angry about that. But that's kind of why I've never upgraded to to Blu-ray. I know I should. I'm kind of kicking myself. Sooner or later I am going to, because this DVD, it's outdated. Already I can't play it on my widescreen TV. It's not widescreen compatible, so that sucks. And, the picture could be better, but again, it's still a very early DVD. I was looking at the packaging, and it says 1998 is when this DVD was released, so pretty early on the DVD forefront, but sooner or later I think I'll get the Blu-ray. But anyway, the movie itself, it's a classic. You gotta love this movie. This is one of the top horror, science fiction, just general movies that you need to watch for so many reasons. Like for one thing, it is a remake, but this is a prime example of how well done a remake can be. It takes the concept of the original movie and The Thing from Another World. I mean, that's a classic in its own right. And it definitely, and it actually has one of those unforgettable shock moments too. So, you always remember them for kind of this one scene. But it takes that concept and it doesn't really, disrespect it, but it just kind of saw something else. They based it more on the short story Who Goes There as its inspiration, more than the movie itself. So it didn't really take elements from the movie and screw around with it. It did its own thing, which you have to respect. And it created this incredible atmosphere of isolation and paranoia when it came to the alien activity. And just kind of around the same time, they'll comment on it on the commentary. Around the same time that AIDS was starting to be whispered as this new disease. So it kind of like you can draw your own parallels and just the timing of it. But very interesting. And just Kurt Russell in this movie. He is such a badass. The best Kurt Russell movie. I know he's done some other great movies. He's worked with John Carpenter before, Escape from New York, Death Proof recently. Even though everyone doesn't love the movie that much, people have a lot of praise for his role as Stuntman Mike. But this is always going to be my favorite Kurt Russell movie. He's a badass as MacReady. He gets shit done, basically. I think in a situation like these men come into, I think he's the one you'd want running the show because he's just determined and he's a badass. So real great role for Kurt Russell and really great character. And I do know that they keep it isolated and they keep the paranoia and they're all arguing with each other, and tension rises and rises and rises as it becomes stark reality that there is an alien entity kind of making its way into the group. But not only that, they come to realize and understand this thing better, and it's not so much doubting that it exists. They accept that it exists quite easily and quite quickly. But the major concern is that if this spreads out from where they are, it's going to be the end of the world. And it is, as John Carpenter put it, it is within his Apocalypse trilogy of films. I think this is the first one. I can't really remember. But yeah, and kind of one of the weird complaints about the movie, or not so much complaints, but just something that everybody seems to bring up, is that the whole cast, it's all men. So they're all men on this ice expedition, all alone at that station. People are kind of complaining, well, where are the women characters? But I never really took issue with that. Like, I never, saw it as like a conscious decision that they made when making the movie. It just is what it is. I mean, those are the characters. I never really watched, say, The Descent and think, where are all the guys in this movie? That's just how it is in the movie. So, give it a break in that sense. But the way all the characters play off each other is extremely, extremely well done. As the tensions rise, and you can see how certain people react to the situations differently, because a lot of them are just panicking. But MacReady keeps his cool. There's power struggles, things like that. It all leads up to the great blood test scene, which is very well done. And the effects in this movie are spectacular. No amount of CGI today can top what they've done in this movie. I mean, it's just, you see it there on the screen. When you watch a movie today, I think there is kind of a disconnect when you recognize that something is CG. Like, we know how CG works. We've seen making of featurettes and stuff like that. It's not real. So I think something registers in our head where we know what we're seeing isn't real, which is kind of a strange complaint to say when we're watching movies, because movies aren't real anyway. But shouldn't you believe it's real just for those 2 hours that you're watching? Maybe you should. But when it's practical effects, when it's there on the screen, there with the actors, you're thinking, hey, that's kind of real. This is happening in front of me, and you don't kind of, I don't know, it's hard to describe, but you just can't get the same kind of effect that you can with CGI. I mean, yes, they can make the creatures bigger and more fluid in movement, and they can do all that kind of stuff, but the effects that they have, the alien effects in this movie, are just some of the best, plainly and simply, some of the best I've ever seen in a movie. And it's gruesome, real gruesome. This movie is not for the faint of heart, especially if you're an animal lover. I mean, I didn't like the stuff with the dogs. It kind of breaks my heart. But it establishes its, no holds barred. Anything can happen. This is terrifying shit kind of attitude. And you don't get such a bold movie like that these days. And I know I'm sounding like, oh, back in my day we had VHS tapes and our movies were better. But it's true. I mean, they can't make a movie like this anymore. The 80s were just kind of the high point of special effects in horror movies. I always kind of wondered what it must be like to have visited one of the sets, any kind of horror movie. Like if you went to the Reanimator, or The Fly, The Beyond, The Thing, whatever. It must, if you walked to one of those sets when they were making the movie, it must have smelled like rubber all the time. That would be kind of disgusting. And I think in the documentary, The Terror Takes Shape, they mention like the one scene where, the defibrillator scene where, it bursts out and they set it on fire. And like the neck crawls off of the table there. One of the actors, I can't remember which one, but he's like, man, it stunk so bad. So, I don't know, maybe. But anyway, I digress. This movie, one of John Carpenter's best movies. Real great atmosphere setter. Real tense. Real great payoff with the scares in the movie. Kurt Russell, badass, has a great fucking ending too. No bullshit kind of, happy ending, but it's not a downer either. So the ending's kind of a little bit up in the air. You kind of expect that MacReady and Childs, they're probably going to die. But then you're kind of thinking, well, wait a minute, one of them might be infected. So either they're going to live and, get saved somehow, or one of them is infected and the other one's going to die, the other one's going to sleep and be found by someone else. I don't know. I didn't watch a sequel with what's her name? Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Or was it a prequel? I don't know. Fuck that movie. Who cares? But this movie is where it's at. I'm rambling and not making any points right now, so I'll just say, watch this movie if you haven't already. It's an amazing movie. I will upgrade to Blu-ray one of these days, but as it stands, I paid $40 for $45, whatever, for this movie. I still need to watch it a few more times and feel like I've made my money off it. And it's been 13 years. So, anyway, thanks for watching. Comment, rate, subscribe, whatever. You have a nice day.